What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm working on a Kawasaki Prairie 650 quad. This quad is actually my grandfather's. I'm doing him a favor and I'm gonna get it running again. Weird enough, well, he doesn't use it that much, first of all, but it started, pulled it out of his shed, brought it through his driveway to put a plow on it, and jumped into his coverlet to grab the plow. And when I walked back over the quad, it shut off. The choke has always been really iffy on this thing, but the quad would not start. Long story short, opened up the airbox, sprayed some ether down it. It would backfire out of the carb, shooting flames, and it would also backfire out of the exhaust. So my guess is, he doesn't use the quad a lot, it sits. So something to do with just the carbs being gummed up. The fuel where we are is really just crappy, so I'm gonna rip the carbs off. I've done it once before. It was probably like 4 years ago, and I had the help of my father with me since I was younger. So not really sure where to start. I tried Googling some videos, and most of the videos are just a bunch of rednecks trying to figure it out. So I'm going to get to it. I don't have a lot of room to work in here. My garage is kind of a mess. Yeah, snow thrower blocking the door, but we're going to get into it. We're going to start by ripping off the plastics and taking the air filter off, and we'll go from there. All right, first step was removing the plastics. All it was was 2 Phillips heads that were on the sides right here, pretty self-explanatory. And then there's 3 10 mils, one here, here, and here, holding down your battery. And then I removed the battery. I zipped that off wires. My grandfather has a lot of accessories. He's got 2 different lights, a winch, and so on. So there's a bunch of wires. Next step is removing the airbox. So I'm gonna go there. All right, airbox is removed. Simplest way to do it, I found, was remove the, filter cover, like air filter cover. There's a plastic housing that bolts down with 4 Phillips head screws. That gets removed, and then the air box is actually attached to your carburetors. It's 8mm bolts, 4 on each carb. And then there's 2 10mm bolts, one here and one here. And then up front, you'll have a hose clamp. You just reach over here with the Phillips head, you can get it out. Then that exposes your carbs. When you go to pull off your flame or airbox, there's 1 breather tube and then 2 more. They just have hose clamps, like pinch hose clamps that are on them. So it's super easy to move. Next step is removing the throttle linkage and all the fuel lines and closing them off so I don't have fuel everywhere. So I'm going to get going on that, and I will touch base after I do so and explain the best way of going about doing it. Sorry for the noise in the background. Hopefully it's not too loud, but I'm just running a heater. Anyways, carbs are out. It was just some clamps for the bottoms of the carbs. Choke wires are kind of difficult to understand in the beginning, but all it is, remove on this bracket the Phillips head screw. Use a JIS screwdriver if you have it, Japanese industry screws. There's a Y fitting on the bottom of the carbs that will get 2 hoses for your oil, or I believe. There's this one, and then the other one. There's also the return line that's also another YT fitting that will be on there. Your main fuel line's up top, which is disconnected. Throttle cable, you take off the side panel. Again, it's another Phillips head screw. There's a clip, and then on the bottom, or on the inside, is your wire. You just loosen the 10mm nut, and then you're good. Oh my God, puking oil. Not what I want. Make sure your oil's sitting upright. And then I'm going to put a rag over the intakes, just so if something wants to drop in, it's a rag first. It's always a good precaution. And like I said, make sure lines are up, gas lines up, and oil lines. Reserve doesn't matter, it's not going to go anywhere. And I'm going to go take the carb apart and drop it in the ultrasonic cleaner. All right, so I just finished taking apart the carburetors. They really weren't bad on the inside. One of the pilot jets was clogged, probably, in my opinion, because I went to look through it and I couldn't see. But if you go to take apart these carbs, do it really slow and methodical. Take lots of pictures. record what you're doing. I started off on this side, which is 4 bolts, and then the plunger pulled right out with the spring. Then I flipped it over and went to this side. Again, 4 bolts taking it off. There was 1 Phillips head holding down your float. Pulled the needle, or the float arm out. Pulled the float, the needle's attached to it. Gained you access to your pilot jet here. On the left one, it was a 40. And then your main jet actually has 3, I guess, components to it. The jet on top, the inner collar. I don't really know the correct terms, but it has like all the different pinholes in it where your fuel actually spits out, and then the sleeve it sits in. Don't quote me. I'll put it at the end of the video, or in the video, of what this main jet was, because both main jets were different. The right one was definitely bigger. The left one was smaller. The pilot jet was also 40 on this one. But again, take everything apart very slow. Take pictures. Remember what you're doing. I labeled it as the left side of the carb has the throttle wheel. Right side doesn't. That's just in my head. Took pictures and put an L and an R on it. My mason jars have all of my parts in it. I got 2 different ones. Got something in my face. This one I wrote left on. The blue one I wrote right. I'm assuming the ultrasonic cleaner is going to take the writing off of it. So that's why they're 2 different colors. This one also has some vegetable logo on it. So if it discolors this for some unknown reason, I have 2 different part bins. I'm going to set this in here. This has been warming up, as you can tell. And then I have some Purple Power, or not Purple Power, Simple Green. Let me just grab it really quick instead of trying to talk. Okay, so I got Simple Green Pro HD cleaner. I was using normal green Simple Green, and after reading it up, apparently regular Simple Green is acidic, I believe, and it's not good for metals. So I went for this one. It will not eat at the aluminum or etch it, so it should be safe for this. So my plan is, since the ultrasonic sound waves go through glass and or plastic, I'm going to put a splash of this. By splash, I mean a hefty amount, into both mason jars as I make a mess. So it'll have that in it. These will be set in here separately. Wow, that's actually extremely hot. No duh. But these will go in on their own. I'm going to put more water in them too. I do not want to burn my hands on this water. It's a lot hotter than you think. So that's fully submerged. Then the left one, with all the goodies, will also get water in it, so that the solution's diluted. And then the Ziploc baggie that's floating in here is actually for the carburetor itself. Wow, accidentally floating in the water, not a good idea. The carburetor itself is going to go into this bag with Purple Power. That way I just don't waste so much. God, not Purple Power, Simple Green. It's just so I don't waste all the detergent in this big bucket. I found it's what works best for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get some water in here and some Simple Green Purple and drop the carbon. All right, here's a quick update. This is everything out of the right mason jar. Everything is clean. After it's in your solution, all I did was I brought it into my bathroom with hot water and dumped everything into a small, very fine strainer and washed it all with hot water to get all the Simple Green off, because you really don't want any water or chemicals, residue, with mixing with your fuel. So these were all washed very thoroughly with water, and then I took my air compressor and blew everything off. So they're bone dry, no water's on them at all. You can see right through the jets now. There's your 40. And then this was the 142 for the right side. And then lo and behold, here's the carburetor. It looks brand new. Inside and out, there's no junk in there. Again, same thing with this. Brought it in my bathroom, washed it with hot water thoroughly, made sure there was no bubbles coming off of it, and then blew it out with the air compressor very thoroughly too. You can see there's some spots of like junk around the rim. I bet if I ran it for another cycle, it would be absolutely magnificent. Perfect, whatever. But this is way better than it was. I mean, the internals on this whole carburetor are perfect. So there's no junk. Everything is blown through, like I said. So these I just pulled out too. I left the gaskets in there. See what happened. Didn't really wash them that well. But these turned out amazing also. So none of the plastic melted, which is good. But I'm gonna bring this in along with this mason jar of I mean, you remember it was clear. So this is gonna get everything washed too. You can see stuff floating in there. So this will all get thoroughly washed. And then we will start the reassembly. Long story short, I put the carburetor back on, reassembled it. I wasn't going to record any of that because I figured it was going to be boring watching me put something back together that I already explained, taking apart. But anyways, put the carb on, and these quads are known that you need to run them with the airbox on, or else it gets I guess like a lean condition of some sort because you're sucking too much air. But anyways, put it all back together and it would not run still. So I messed around with it, trying to figure it all out, still couldn't get it to run. And then I was doing some research on forums, and people were saying that the valve bodies need to be adjusted after 100 hours. And I think this quad has like 90 something on it. So that could be a problem too that needs to be addressed in the future. But for now, all I did was I took the spark plugs out. To get to the spark plugs, it's kind of a pain because I put all the plastics back on. The front cylinder, you reach through a little porthole underneath the fender on the left-hand side, and it's not bad to get to, but it still kind of sucks. You have to contort your body into ways that it shouldn't. And then the other one is removing the Kawasaki plastics again, removing this, removing the seat, taking the battery out, and removing another piece of rubber. And it's directly back here. So the plugs that were in there were completely black. Definitely fouled. So when I changed out the front one, I went to start it, and it started to spit and sputter and go. So then I went and redid the rear, and it still didn't want to run, but it cleared out and eventually started. So if I put the key in, choke's completely off, it idles. Definitely something it would not have done, let's see, 6 hours ago now. Yeah, I have close to 7 hours into this thing. So, but that's it. Quad is done. I will be dropping it off to my grandfather probably in the next day or two. And then next will be that snow thrower. And this Friday, the pipes are coming back, so I can put this thing back together finally, start it, finish that video, and get this up to the shed and that up to the shed, and finish up on that round nose. So, all right, peace.